All right, we got to cut Steely Dan a little bit close, but it's okay. It's Tony Tone on Vintage Sound 93.1 FM, 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. He's on the MPW Digital TV Celebrity Hotline right now. We're going to talk to Jerry Stones, who is a zookeeper in Texas. And let's say hi to Jerry first before we get into this. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm just fine right now. Glad to be on your show.
I appreciate the time. So, Jerry, you were with, now, do you pronounce it Harambe or Harambe? How do you say his name?
Well, I just call him Harambe.
Harambe. So, Harambe, was he born at your zoo back in the day? What's the background? Fill us in.
Well, he was born here. In fact, I cut the umbilical cord
wow.
when he was born. And he was just a little guy when he was born. His mama we didn't have her on birth control. She got pregnant a little too young, and she sort of gave up on it, and so Grandma had to raise the baby. But anyway, I took him home at night, and some of the other keepers here took him home at night, too. We took turns because it gets to be a little tiring. And we'd bring him back in the morning. He'd spend the days in our children's zoo in the nursery window, and then he'd go home again with us at night. And this went on for 6 months or so, and then he started staying full-time at the zoo and eventually got worked right in with his family members and got nurtured by his Aunt Martha, who was a female that raises her own babies, does a very fine job, and she also will raise everybody else's babies if she gets the opportunity.
So, Jerry, you said that Harambe always stood out to you because he was very intelligent and inquisitive. And did you notice that from early on?
Yes, sir. The deal is, most of these gorillas, if you give them a chance, they're all very intelligent. People don't realize that. But he put his chest out and stepped forward a lot more than the rest of them. He was always into something. He was always making the keeper's life a little bit miserable, not out of meanness or anything, just out of just playing around, just being a kid, And I remember one day he was playing around with the docents, running around he was on this counter, just running around playing with a ball, and one of the girls was sitting there with him, and he weighed about maybe 12 pounds, 13 pounds, someplace in there, and a keeper from another area stepped through the door, and he looked up at him, and he stood up as tall as he could, put his chest out and beat his chest at him. It's like, what are you doing here, But then the keeper looked at him and said, what are you doing? He ran around behind the volunteer there and peeked out like a child looking around his mama's skirt, He was brave up to a point.
Right. So at what point did Harambe leave Texas and go to Cincinnati? What was his journey like?
Well, he had to leave. He was about 16 years old. Well, 15, almost 16 years old. He left. He went there for breeding purposes because he always showed a natural leadership type quality. He loved kids. He would the baby gorillas, the other baby gorillas in the troop, he'd pick them up and carry them around. He would play with them. He just showed this quality. And when he got older and he started pushing on Dad like a teenage boy, he started testing Dad,
Sure.
We had to get him out of there because Dad was going to be a little rougher than I was with my sons.
Right.
And, it's, even in play, they're very rough.
Right.
And I just talked to a guy, and he said, well, why would you not go in with him, as an adult if you raise him a baby? And I told him, I said, you stand out in the middle of a football field and let Rosie Greer hit you with all his tackle on as fast as he can run.
Right.
Your bell's going to ring forever. And they play rougher than we do, and so even in play, you can get hurt, bad hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Or even though there's no meanness in it,
So when this accident happens, unfortunately, and the 3-year-old child falls in and Harambe's there, I mean, you can tell that Harambe in the video looks surprised, maybe concerned, maybe threatened. I don't know. It didn't seem like he was too scared. But as you watched that video, Jerry, did you think that 3-year-old was going to be in danger? I mean, I know it's a sensitive thing to talk about, but what was your reaction when you saw the video?
I was sad. How's that? Let me just give you this my synopsis on this thing. First of all, when that little boy fell in there, those parents had to be just mortified, scared to death. And all the public up there had to be scared to death because here was this beast that had this baby, okay? Nobody knew Harambe. And then the zoo people that showed up, they had to be scared and mortified also. And with this, what decision do we make? How do we deal with this? What do we have to do? But then you stop right there and cross the fence and get into Harambe's world. And here he is all of a sudden with this strange thing in his house.
Right.
And he's seen him across the way. He has seen him over there, but he's never dealt with those. He's dealt with big people, but he's never dealt with those. And all of a sudden here he is now. Am I to run from it? Am I to fight it? Am I to be curious? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to handle this? And while he's sitting there trying to figure this out, unforeseen circumstances took over, and he had to pay the price. And that's my feeling on the whole thing. How's that?
No, I respect that. So do you think that the staff at the Cincinnati Zoo ultimately made the right decision? I don't know if that's the right thing to say. Is it the right decision? I mean,
I can't make a comment on that, sir. There's too many. There's a police investigation. There's the United States Department of Agriculture investigation, and there's American Association of Zoological Association make an investigation. Until all of that's done, unlike TV pundits you hear all the time prognosticating and bloviating, I don't want to be involved in that.
I respect that. So do you think that people like Jack Hanna are maybe speaking out too soon, or they're just being pressured to talk about this, or what?
What I do is I leave it up to them to make their decisions and tell the world what they think, and I'll reserve mine. Like many times out there, I disagree with what people say, and sometimes I agree with what people say. But I tell you what, about 3 years from now, after this is all smoothed over and gone and done, get together and we'll drink a martini and we'll talk about it.
That sounds like a good idea, Jerry. Well, what I can say is that I'm sorry for the loss of Harambe, who you spent a significant amount of time with, and I mean, you cut the umbilical cord, geez Louise. So I hope that you can find peace at some point and know that the work that you did and how much you helped his life up until this unfortunate incident really meant a lot.
Well, what we're hoping, I don't know if you know about the Harambe Fund. And we have started a fund called Harambe Fund, and it's Harambe at gpz.org. And you can pay through the PayPal account, and the money is to go to the Mbele by study in Africa, and it's to help educate the people there. They're being wiped out due to poaching, hunted for food, the deforestation. There's a whole bunch of things. And what we're trying to do now is get some funds over there. When he passed away early in his life, he never had a chance to have a future, but his name, he can be carried on and do good for the wild in his name, and maybe we can make a decent pie out of some rotten apples.
Yeah, I think you will. Absolutely.
And so remember, Harambe at gpz.org, and that will help Harambe's name carry on with the people, the family, and the wild.
Jerry Stones with the Gladys Porter Zoo in Brownsville, Texas. Thank you for the time, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I can talk about gorillas forever.
Well, I'm fascinated by it, and we'll definitely catch up again in the future, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye.